Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming out to City Hall. My name is Troy Houtman. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Wichita. And today we had a pretty exciting day at Council. It was a really great day in regards to our project that we're working on with Chester I. Lewis and the Chester I. Lewis Park. We have a lot of folks that are collaborating with and working on this project, so we're really excited that today we were able to pass two items. One was an item for an additional $250,000 to come into the project, and also we were able to sign contracts for two artists that are going to be on the contract. So I have some friends here that are going to talk a little bit about that, but a little bit more detail about that. So the $250,000 donation is coming from the Wichita Parks Foundation. And if you recall, or if you know about the Wichita Parks Foundation, they're a nonprofit that helps bring dollars into our parks. And so they work on a lot of our capital improvement projects. And so they're going to be bringing in $100,000. And then downtown Wichita is going to bring in $150,000 for the total of $250,000 to add to the project. So we're pretty excited about that. That's going to help pay for the art and the artists. Some more dollars that were coming in. Every year through the Arts Council, they have an opportunity to put in some of the capital dollars from all of our CIP projects and put those in towards different projects throughout the city. And they have announced that this is a special project and they're going to be putting $150,000 into that. So we're going to get a total budget of $1.7 million for this project. That is pretty outstanding. So we're really excited about that because that's really going to help us move along and getting the project moving and getting some great art in there. So I have a couple of folks that are going to share some information. Vice Mayor Johnson, he's going to tell us a little bit more about some of the projects that, actually some of the artwork that's in this project and some of the spin-offs of this as well. So I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Troy. I also want to thank all of those who helped out with this, specifically the Parks Foundation and the Downtown Wichita groups. And if you don't have a Wichita flag license plate yet, you should get one because that helps the Parks Foundation and they're helping this project. So I want to shout them out. And again, thanks to Senator Frascado and Councilmember Brian Fry on the collaboration on that. I want to highlight my colleague, Councilmember Becky Tuttle in the space as well. In regard to the park today and the art, there have been two artists that have been selected to create and install public art in the space with the primary focus honoring Chester I. Lewis. And that is the most exciting part of this space is all the work going into honoring the man, the legend, the great Wichitan Chester I. Lewis. These artists were selected after a national search. Throughout this process, we've been working through with the Lewis family, the Wichita Branch NAACP, African American Museum, Wichita Parks, and our art consultant, Mr. Anthony Joyner, and other community stakeholders to ensure that this process is collaborative and again reflective of the true history here in Wichita of Mr. Lewis. We've also heard from the community regarding the park, and especially one of the things we'll talk about today is the lunch counter statute. Just to let you all know, we are working on a final place for the lunch counter statute. We've heard from the family that they want to make sure that this park is a piece that best reflects the dynamic life and contributions of Chester Lewis, and that's what we're working towards and what these artists will do. We are working on a final place again for the lunch counter, and we look forward to making that exciting announcement later this year as to where that's going. But in the meantime, we'll be wrapping it up. We want to make sure it's protected, that it stays as is. And we'll be putting that up with the rest of the statues from the park into storage to keep them safe during the construction period. So again, not getting rid of them, but putting them into storage to keep them safe while construction begins on the park. And we're also working to dedicate the actual site of the Dockham sit-in with the African American Museum. And you'll hear more about that later as well. Now again, these artists that have been chosen will help us not only honor Chester Lewis, but create a dynamic space for our entire city that will be activated and programmed with awesome opportunities for Wichitans, not only to learn about Chester I. Lewis, but hopefully as well be inspired by Chester I. Lewis and the legacy that he's left. We also hope to engage this park with other events and activities working with the medical school that will be adjacent to it. And again, we think this park will finally be that dynamic location for residents in our city to enjoy, and a location that many of us talk about every year during the MLK parade when we bring folks down to Chester I. Lewis Reflection Square. It'll be a space that, once completed, will inspire all of those young people in Wichitans alike that come to that space at the end of that march. So with that, I want to bring up another friend, our artist consultant, Mr. Anthony Joyner, to talk more about the project.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Anthony Joyner, and I am the art consultant on this project. So, as was mentioned before, we've chosen two very great artists for this project after doing a national search, and that will be Matthew Mizota and Ella Monique Bacchus. If you're local and you know anything about art, you know the name Ella Monique Bacchus. She is an amazing artist with a very extensive resume, has participated in very amazing programs such as Arts Partners. So you'll be able to see a lot of her work from the Jackie Robinson and a lot of other things that she's done throughout the community. So we're excited to have her on board. We also have Matthew Mizota, who has several different works throughout the country and some international as well. And nearly everything he touches gets national attention at the very least. He has a website set up. You can go to his website, MatthewMizota.com, I think, and you can see a lot of the work that he has to kind of get some anticipation as to what's going to happen here at this park. I know everybody's pretty excited about what the artwork is going to look like. We don't want to speculate on that just yet. I know that's one of the biggest questions that I've had. We will be updating people on that as things progress. So the contracts are Ella Bacchus is getting a $120,000 contract to do her part of the art, and then Matthew Mizota will have a $350,000 contract, and there will be a remaining $30,000. There will be a contingency just in case we run into some unanticipated costs. Whenever you're doing art on this scale, public art, there are things that could come up, things that we didn't see in the beginning, and we want to make sure that we do have a contingency in place in order to cover those things and keep things progressing. And like the Vice Mayor said, this is going to be collaborative, so the artists will be working together, and we will continuously talk to the stakeholders that are involved in this. We'll be talking with the Chester Lewis family more and more as we go throughout this process to make sure that we're able to portray Chester Lewis in the best light and actually show all of the things that he's done from the community, from those that we talk about on a normal basis to some of those that you may not have heard. So, thank you.
So thank you very much for all that information. And from the Parks and Recreation's perspective, we're really excited about this. When we had this idea of upgrading the space, we knew it wasn't used very much in the past. But this great idea of honoring somebody from our history, an African-American leader that has had so much impact on Wichita, we were just so excited to work on this project. So, and a lot of thanks to the DO Medical School. Those folks have been great to work with, and they are very much vested in this project. Their design on their half of their property is going to complement the things that we're going to be doing in the park, and we're going to be working with them on programming. So a lot of special programming is going to happen when we get the park going, similar to what we've done over at NASCAR Park. We want to activate it, and we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to use that as a gathering space. So in closing, we're ready for any questions that you guys might have.
One of the simplest ones is when can we expect some of this work to be done? When can that be fully opened up to the public and all that?
So we do have a little bit of a deadline that we need to work with the medical school. Their expectation is our expectation. So as we're doing this as a partnership, we're hoping to have everything wrapped up next summer. And we're still finalizing a lot of the design. And as we've gotten the artists hired, we're going to have those artists working with our designers to implement the art into the design. So that's going to take a few months. You should be seeing some renderings of what the park is going to look like in the next 2 months.
And just to clarify, when you say wrapping everything up next summer, do you mean it'll be finished next summer?
Yes. That's the expectation, is that it would be finished next summer. So the DO school can use it, the public can use it, and it'll be a great gathering space.
That's a pretty fast timeline to get that done.
Yeah, we're fast. Actually, no, we're not very fast. But we have gotten a lot of legwork done, and today, when we went to council, was a huge stepping stone to get where we need to go. We have some designs already in place. And in regards to the construction, most of the construction is outdoor construction. We're not dealing with major electrical, plumbing, roofing. We don't have to worry about walls and capacity. So outdoor construction goes a lot faster. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay.
Do you have any idea of, I know that you mentioned that the statues that were there are in storage right now. Any idea of how many of those might not be coming back or will be coming back, and just any estimations about that right now? Or?
So we have a few that are in storage. There's still several that are still there. And when we remove the lunch counter, we're going to be removing all of them so we can start the work on the park. The idea is all those statues will come back in one capacity or another. The lunch counter, as the Vice Mayor had been talking about, is probably going to get a very special place when we're going to be working with some stakeholders that really want to address a couple of other historical items of Wichita, and that's going to be a part of that. The other statues, we're going to find different places, probably on Douglas, so we can make sure that those get the exposure. I mean, there was a lot of, it was actually a gift to the city. We want to make sure that that gift is used on the right basis.
I would just say, speak to a little bit, this continued investment in beautifying downtown. We've got the pop-up park that's been under work for a while since last summer. We got this just another block down over. Is this showing a real commitment from the city to kind of add some more aspects for people to bring downtown?
Well, most definitely. And by the way, the pop-up park is now closed, and that was private property. And so this is going to take a little bit of that role, because we are going to have power there for a food truck there that's going to take the place of what we had over at the pop-up park. But a little bit further down, we have the Ambassador Hotel, which is going to get a monument in regards and some history about the actual sit-in, because that was the actual location of it. A little further down, we have NASCAR Park. So all these things are falling into place to really enhance downtown, but also have a large impact on the history of our African Americans here in Wichita.
Are you giving the artists like a guideline of, what sort of historical facts to sort of emulate in their art, or are they just kind of going for it with, what they're inspired by?
I'll let you answer that, but before that, we did do a request for proposal, and I think in that we asked for some guidance, but the idea is that it's going to be part of the park. It's going to be part of the infrastructure in there, but I'll let you give the better answer, because that's your expertise.
All right, thank you. That's a great question, actually. So we're bringing the artists in, and with the contracts just being signed, we have our first meeting that's going to be scheduled for tomorrow. Something that I've done as the consultant was do a lot of research in regards to exactly who Chester Lewis was and the different things that he's impacted, not only in our community but throughout the nation. And I went to KU to see all of the things on his past and the things that he personally wrote and donated to that school. All of that information is going to be talked about in the meetings that I have with the artists as they go throughout their design process. So in terms of guidelines, we won't be saying like, hey, here's a spot right here, figure out what picture you want to be there, but more along the lines of, this is who Chester Lewis was, and how can you kind of portray that in your expertise.
Thanks, Anthony. Any other questions?
Sorry, one more.
Oh, by all means, that's why we're here.
Do you have like any examples of what type of educational programming, any brainstorming plans about sort of what will draw in people who want to learn, just what that's going to look like?
So the Kansas African American Museum is going to be my go-to place. They're a great partner. We've already talked to them about some of the things that we want to do there, and then also working with the staff and faculty from the medical school. So as far as programming, there's going to be a group of people that are going to be doing a lot of research on Chester I. Lewis, but also just on supportive of African American affairs here in Wichita. And we want that to be the catalyst place for a lot of that to happen. So, but in short, I'm going to be working with the Kansas African American Museum. They have great folks over there that really can help program, and they know what they're doing, and I'm going to work with them. Sure. All right. Well, I guess that answers all your questions. I appreciate you guys coming, and we will see you guys when we do the grand opening. Well, I'll probably talk about it before then. We'll probably have another meeting when we do some of the design aspects of the park. So, thanks.